What's up, YouTube fans? Today, we're going to talk about the terminology that's used in the Transformers community known as the party, first party, second party, third party, and fourth party. So if you're relatively new to collecting and the Transformers community, then you might have heard some of these terms and been confused or wondering why we use these terms. Now, before I get started and get into this, these terms aren't officially recognized by Hasbro or Takara Tomy. They're really created by the community and sort of kept up over the last 8 to 10 years of people collecting and companies making stuff like this. So as I mentioned this, it isn't really documented anywhere in the official Transformers branding or community. If you hear from Hasbro, they're not going to talk about this. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. Now, I'm on the Shozi store website. This is not sponsored by Shozi. I just use their website because they clearly mark things you can see along the side here. So I'm going to just use it just for the purpose of this video. So let's start with first party. So first party are official Transformers made by either Takara Tomy or Hasbro. They own the original Transformers brand, the trademark, the license, the copyright. They own it completely. So brands that you might see in here are the Masterpiece or the MPG line or the Missing Link line or the Transformers Legacy line. Any of those are first party, made officially by Hasbro or Takara Tomy. They do some collaborations or crossovers. Like, for example, this one right here, we've got an Optimus crossover with Canon. So they worked directly with Canon. On this one up here, we had Optimus Prime, and they worked with Toyota and JAXA, the Japanese space exploration, to create this Optimus Prime, this lunar rover Optimus Prime. So they do some crossovers. They do some other ones, like they did some X-Men, they did Back to the Future. So those are collaborative, but they're still first party, made officially by Hasbro or Takara. Then we get into what's called second party or officially licensed products. So if we go here, we can 3.0 is a good example. So we'll just look up 3.0. So 3.0 is what we call a second party. They basically don't have the original ownership of the trademark or the license, but they license it from Hasbro. They pay Hasbro and or Takara Tomy for the license to be able to use the name Transformers, use the name, in this case, Skywarp, use the trademarked Autobot or Decepticon symbols, use the name Transformers. All of that is what they're paying a license for to use. So they pay a license, but then they make these products and then sell them, and they're officially named. So 3.0 calls this Skywarp because they have the right to use that name. So 3.0 and Flame Toys and any of these companies where they've got an official license using the official names, Blockies, for example, which I've been reviewing on this channel, those are all officially licensed companies. They're given permission to use the name, the branding, all of that. Because of that, though, they don't have a license to make transforming figures. So you'll notice that pretty much every licensed second-party company doesn't make transforming figures. They're mostly action figures or model kits, or maybe they partially transform, but they don't really fully transform. And that is something that Hasbro has yet to license away. They've really been protective of the transforming gimmick. They call it converting. But that's something that's probably going to change in the near future as they're licensing. They announced recently that they're going to be licensing more and more to different companies. So maybe we'll see some transforming figures from other companies. But right now, most of the second party companies, they're not transforming. All right, now we get into third party. So third party are not licensed, unofficial Transformers that use the likeness of the characters. So for example, we have Huffer here, and we've got Firefly, and we've got Blitzwing, And you'll notice that they never use the actual names. And this guy is Lightning. This guy is Fireflight. These are Ballin and Huffer. So they kind of skirt around what we call intellectual property of Hasbro and Takara, because they don't use the name. They don't call it a Transformer. They don't use the branding like the Autobot logo or the Decepticon logo or the Transformers name or the Transformers logo or any of that. They kind of just work around it and hope that Hasbro or Takara doesn't pursue them legally for using their intellectual property. Now, legally, it's kind of a gray area. If Hasbro took this to court and said, hey, Fans Toys is using our intellectual property. Here's the character. Here's the trademark of the name and the look of the character. They would probably win. But part of the problem is most third-party companies are out of China, and it's very hard to litigate in China. It's also hard to pursue the factory that's actually producing it. So third-party is kind of existing with Hasbro and Takara knowing that they're out there, right? They don't want them to produce it because they're essentially taking money away, but they don't really do anything about it. Now, maybe I would argue, a lot of people would argue, third party has really kept Transformers brand in the limelight. A lot of collectors, especially my generation, are still collecting because of third party, right? It's kept us going. And I still buy, official stuff and even second party, but it really has kept us going in this collecting. So that's sort of what the debate around third party, right? They really aren't officially licensed. They borderline infringe on copyright and trademark. I'm sorry, not copyright, but on intellectual property. But basically, they're allowed to continue. They haven't. No real third-party company has been chased after. The only one that really did was Zeta Toys. When they came out with this one right here, it was originally called Zeta. They changed their name to O1 Studio, and Hasbro gave them a cease and desist because they were putting out their HasLab Unicron at the same time as these guys. It was pretty bold of them. So what they ended up doing, they ended up changing their name to O1 Studio. They ended up basically separating the head, and they put it in a separate box. It was all kind of silly. But it did come out, right? This figure did come out back then, and you could still buy it. So they never pursued them to the point where they stopped it. But they did get them to change the name and sort of delay it. So that's third party. And now we get to fourth party. Now, fourth party is a name that really Chinese retail stores made up. It came about because they didn't like the word KO. KO stands for knockoff. Knockoff is basically a copy, copy of a official product. So knockoffs exist in other communities, other brands, or other segments. For example, there's knockoff Gucci products. There's knockoff Nike products. And so here we have knockoff Transformers products. And fourth party is just a nice way of saying it's a knockoff. It's a knockoff. So here's a fourth party Optimus Prime, right? This is a copy of the official MP44 Optimus Prime. So basically they've copied the design, they copied the look. In some cases, they even copied the logo. They put it in the box as a sticker that you add on yourself just to kind of avoid, I don't know how it's avoiding anything, but to try to avoid getting, actual branding on there. But these are officially copied things. So they could definitely get in trouble for these. Wei Zhang is a pretty famous company who got in trouble with Hasbro. Hasbro actually went to the Chinese factories with the help of the Chinese police, I guess, and shut them down. They shut them down. They seized all their product. Now Wei Zhang has moved around and changed their name, and they keep popping up over and over. So it's hard to get after these guys, these fourth party knockoffs. So they continue. It still continues today. Now on this website, they sort of mix third party with fourth party. You've got Pengu Toys here, who is really a third party company. It's an oversized version of Magic Square. So it's a little weird the way Shozi does it, but essentially fourth party are knockoffs. This one here, Phantasmo, is actually, I found out recently, is a copy or a KO of a company called Nakamake. So Nakamake is a not officially licensed company, but they do make very stylized figures, so they don't really need the license. And this company just basically made it, mass-produced it, and sold it for a much lower price. So that one's kind of a weird one. But essentially all fourth parties are copies. So one of the debates in our community is, what's the difference between third party and fourth party? They're both stealing, right? Third party is stealing intellectual property. Fourth party's stealing the entire design. So what's the difference? Morally speaking, I don't know. You'll have to answer that question for yourself. Me personally, I buy a lot of third party products. I'm really heavily into it. I love the designs and the engineering and the work, and it's kept me going in this collecting community. But fourth party, I have very few, if any, in my collection. We can see behind me, maybe one. I can't actually even think of any, honestly. So it's really up to you, what your collecting habits and what you feel belongs in your collection. Me personally, it's nice. We're at the epicenter of having the most available Transformers from different manufacturers. We really have different scales, different sizes. Everything is out there. Action figures. We're getting more Transformers than we ever have in the history of Transformers, and some of them aren't even official. So it really is a good time for us as collectors. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it helped you kind of understand and explain the difference between the different terminology out there. But that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.